Hello everybody, this is Betsy from Ideas Times 2. Today, I just thought I would turn on the camera. I started on this little project. I have some offcuts and I thought they were too pretty to throw away, and I was pretty sure I could use them for something. So, getting scrappy here. So I thought I'd turn on the camera and give you my thoughts on how I was going to use these, and we'll finish a project. So what these are offcuts from covers that I have recently made. I made these two into junk journal kits, and someone purchased those even before I put them in the shop. And then this one was an offcut from a journal. I had done a journal exchange with Dawn from the Book Vandal shop recently, and this is an offcut from the journal I made for her. So, my thoughts. All of these are a cotton fabric glued onto a canvas using a glue sheet. So, I know I can use these, right? So I thought I would do this one first because the butterflies are going in a good direction for just folding this over and making it into a journal cover, a smaller one. So I thought that would be cute. And then these I thought would be the same because they're about the same size, but the direction of the print is going vertically on these sheets. So what I have already done before I thought of turning on the camera, I cut these into thirds, sort of picking out a good pattern. Like this one I thought could be a good journal cover, a little mini journal cover. And I thought this one would be cute for the back. So I'm going to use those like that. But you can see how it used to be one long piece. But since the pattern is directional, I had to, you know, get a little more creative than just folding it like this one. And then this one does have some clear words on here. You can, your own way, but this one I thought would be better for a cover. It says sunshine on a cloudy day, and it has the pretty sunflowers, and so I thought this would be a good cover, and then I can put one of these on the back. Probably this one because it's bigger. Since I had to cut this a certain way, this one actually wound up to be not so big, so I might not be able to use that, but unless I use it on, like, for tabs, or fussy cut this butterfly or ruffle it on a page or something, I could do that. But so this will probably go like this. Now these clearly are going to need spines, these cut ones. This one won't need a spine. And I think we're going to work on this one first. Also, I just wanted to show you, so I have a bunch of things in a little pile over here on my desk of things I've been wanting to make something, or thought that these things had possibilities. So here's another offcut, but look at the pattern is perfect for a cover. So I'm probably going to make a mini journal out of that, and I'm going to bring you guys along for some of these projects too. Here is, I have two pieces of this leather I got on clearance at Hobby Lobby way back when, so I thought that would be fun to work with. I maybe will make something out of this. It was an experiment on a embossed journal cover that I was making, so it was just a little experimental piece, but I might be able to make something out of that. I have these really cute Sweet Shop bags, and I thought that would be a great project too. So I've got all these little things, and I really have been wanting to make something, and I thought I would just sort of make it into a little series here. I might not label or number them or anything like that, but I think it would be fun just to use these things up and let you know what I did with them, so that, you know, you can look around and start seeing all kinds of possibilities too. This is a chipboard frame. I think it's a Tim Holtz chipboard frame. What I had done, I was going to put this on a journal cover and changed my mind. So this is decoupaged. It's the chipboard, and then I just decoupaged a bunch of tissue paper over it. So it's like a collaged frame. So I thought that would be fun to make something out of. Oh yeah, so look, here's this box. Look at this box. Okay, this was at Christmas time. I received a gift set in here. Look at how fun that would be for a journal cover. Won't that be fun? Oh, I can't wait to use that. I made this tag for a challenge, and I didn't win anything, but I thought, wow, wouldn't this be cool? I could either, I'll bring you along and we can make a set of tags to go with this, or I could make a blue specific journal and make sure this gets put on the cover, something like that. I don't know. I don't know what to do with it right now. So let's see. I finished off some of these kind bars this morning, and I thought, what a fun box that is. So maybe we can make a journal out of that. Oh, I know, there's a couple more. I got this at the antique mall. It's a crayon box. There were crayons in it. Look at how cute that is. I think that would be an amazing journal cover. Oh, I can just see all the fun stuff you could make with that. So, I mean, and I probably have more that I can't see because it is just a little stack of stuff. Alright, so I'm going to set these aside, and I'll work on those too and show you what I did with those. Well, I might have to bring you along with me, right? Because it's going to be made a little bit differently than this one. Not much though, to be honest. So, I've got a pretty flexible but sturdy fabric here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add some. So this is typically the way I make these fabric journal covers, is I'm going to put a piece of cardstock on here to give it some firmness, and then I'll put a lining of some kind, which will be the inside of the book. So I might use a cardstock or a piece of fabric, I'm not sure, but let's get out some cardstock. Let's see if I have any that are a good size. And this is, it does need trimming. It's not squared up yet, but I think I'm just going to wait until I get all these layers put in. So, thinking, normally I would use a glue sheet. Alright, so maybe just for now, since this is a small journal, I'm going to go ahead and use glue. So I'm going to glue the paper on the cardstock. It's a 110-pound cardstock. I'm going to get my glue to come out more quickly. And I'm just going to put a smattering. Oh, you know what? Before I get too far on that, I am going to cut this and then score it, because it really should be scored before I glue it down. I do have a tutorial on how to make these covers, and I will link that down below. Oops, I was going to score this before I glued more. And that glue's just taking its sweet old time. I'll tell you what though, I ordered some glue, and it did come. I just have to open it. Typically lately when I order things, it just, the mail has been so slow. I just struggling. And that's part of the reason why though that I'm starting to grab these things that are just laying around, because I think especially now when we just can't run out and get things we want, I think it's good to look around and see what we can do at home, stuff we already have. Alright, so back to this. Let's get this glue. So, like I said, I would normally use a glue sheet here, but I'm gonna since it's just a quick small project, I think I'm gonna go ahead and just put glue. Kind of make sure I get the edges pretty well. I'm gonna have to redo some of those spots in case the glue dried on me. Looks like I'm putting a lot, but it's not coming out very easily, so. Okay, and then I'm going to just sort of smooth it so the globs are gone. Which is good that I did, because I felt a little glob there. Okay, and then I'm just going to lay my cardstock on top of that. So now we have a layer of cotton fabric, we have a layer of canvas, and we have our cardstock. Okay, and then I'm going to pick an inside fabric. A little plaid would be cute or something, but I am not sure. I'm going to have to go to my scrap bin, and I will be back in just a second. Okay, I'm back. So my cardstock is on there, my scored cardstock. I cut out a piece of a glue sheet, which is like Heat and Bond Light, is what I normally use. So I went ahead and cut that out, and then I found some, I think this is the fabric I used on Dawn's journal too, so this is going to be like a mini version, but I'm going to put this on the inside. So, but I'm trying to think before I do that. I might go ahead and sew a spine on here. I wonder if that would be a cute spine. I think I'm going to sew a spine on here. Instead of having it all one color, I'm going to just make a, because I'm not going to decorate the front too much because of the pretty pattern here, so I might just go ahead and break up the pattern with a spine. Okay, so let me see how big should I make that? Maybe about 2.5 inches. Check that out again here. So 2.5 inches, that would be, oh, that may be a little big. That would make the spine come up this far, so I think that might be a little too big. If I make it 1 3/4. Yeah, I think I'll make it about 1 3/4 inches wide. And what I'm going to do before I put on my lining here, and I brought my iron over so you could watch me do that. So before I do that, though, I think I'm going to put a spine on it. I have this dark brown scrap. I was trying to decide. I also had a brown polka dot, but the brown was a little different. So I'm just gonna tear a little spine about 1 3/4 inches. I'm still trying to decide how big to make it. Yeah, I like that. Okay, that's about 2 1/4. I was afraid to cut it too small, so I cut it a little bit bigger. Okay, so let me show you what I've got here, or tell you. So I've got about 8 3/4 inches long, and this is about 3 3/4 inches high, which I'm still going to square that up. I might go ahead and do that right now. So all I'm going to do is sew these down, straight down, and I'll be back and we'll put the lining in there and we'll show you the next step. Alright, I am back. So I sewed on a spine. It wound up to be 2 1/4 inches, and then the length of the height of the book cover. That's the cover right now. So the inside is still the cardstock. So what I did was I cut a glue sheet. This is Heat and Bond Light. I'm going to go ahead and iron that on my cardstock, and then I'm going to iron my cotton fabric over that for my lining. So I think this iron is ready. Very hot. Just going to iron it on until it sticks, and then we'll peel off the release paper. Let this cool slightly before I get that release paper off. Not quite ready yet. There we go. Alright, so nice and shiny with that glue sheet on there. And now we'll get the fabric. And we'll have a nice little book cover. We'll cut some papers. I already cut some, but I'm not sure if they're the right size. Actually, they're offcuts, so not only is this cover sort of an offcut and a scrap, the papers were also scraps. So I folded them in half, but we're going to see if they fit. If not, I'll have to cut them again, which is no big deal. So I'm going to make sure this is good and ironed on here. And let it cool for a minute. And then I think my plan, not I think, but my plan is to just sew the signatures directly into the book. And I'll probably try to find a color like this turquoise color, or maybe I'll use a light pink, or maybe a cream color. Alright, so I'm just checking my edges. I think that's nice and stuck. So, where I put my scissors here. I don't know. I've got some small scissors. I'm looking around for my big scissors. I don't know. But I'm going to trim the lining a little bit. I'm done with this iron. Let me move the felt mat at least, so I don't have to pick threads off of my felt mat. That's kind of a pain. It's going to get my longer scissors. Would be much easier to use for this trimming, but it's okay. I'm going to trim this away so the edges are all nice and even. And once you get this sewn, you can actually trim some more if you missed a spot or something. So get that trimmed up. I'm kind of losing my jagged edges on the ends of the spine piece, but that's okay. I can sort of fray them with my fingertip. Okay, looks good. Alright, let me scrape this off. Alright, so the next thing, I'm just going to eyeball this and sort of get this nice and rounded. Round it up a little bit. But what I'm going to do is round the edges, and I'm just going to eyeball it. Doesn't have to be too precise as long as your curve looks good. You could also take some sort of a small circle and make a mark, but I'm just going to do it like that. Alright, cover's done. I'm going to top stitch on it first before it's completely done. So it'll be top stitched. I'm going to do that. I'll be right back. Alright, so I sewed around the edge. What I did was I sewed get this light up a little higher. I sewed a double row of wonky stitching. You can see it better on the spine there, all the way around. And I used a matching thread on the front and a matching thread on the bobbin. So the bobbin has this brown, and then this has the light blue. So the cover's done. How exciting is that? Little scrap. It's a little scrap of nothing. Ready for the bin. So I'm going to try out my papers. I had to trim this down quite a bit, so I don't know if these papers are going to fit, but so I have 20 papers, so I have 40 papers altogether. Is that right? Let me look at this. 25, no, it's 25 papers altogether, because it's 12 and 13. So it's 25 papers altogether, so that's 100 pages, if you include fronts and backs. I broke them down into 2 signatures, so I would just need to figure out if I want to do, a big fat signature, and just sew 1, or 2 signatures. I think I might want 2 signatures. I don't know. I don't suppose it matters too much. So these papers are just scraps, like I said. I can't believe they fit pretty perfectly. I might trim them down a little bit. So there's hardly any room from top to bottom, so I might trim that a little bit. But I think as far as the end goes, I think they're pretty good. Even if I sew a little bit of lace on the edge, I think it'll still be good. So anyway, what I started to say is these are just literally offcuts. So I have turmeric stained paper, tea stained paper, some little digital papers that I had printed out for a different project and had leftovers. Look, upside down. So, etc. So I thought this was kind of cool because it had the butterflies and moths, it looks like. So I thought that was kind of cool. Anyway, just miscellaneous tea stained and turmeric stained. It doesn't look like there are any other colors in here. This is maybe avocado, but it's very light. So I'm trying to think. So I maybe will, what I'm going to do is, I think we'll go ahead and I'm gonna trim these down, and you probably don't need to watch me do that because there are so many pages, but I'm gonna trim these down and then we'll sew it in together, and then it's pretty much up to you, like if you make one of these, how you would decorate it. But what I think I'll do is sew some lace tabs and maybe a ruffle or a lace on the side, and then I'll bind it with you guys. So I'm going to trim the papers, sew on a little bit of lace, and then I'll be back and we'll sew it in together, and then after that's all done, it's pretty much just gluing different things on. For example, if I wanted a pocket here, I would just glue it on. If you want any kind of tuck spots or pockets, or you know, I don't think I have any envelopes small enough to fit in here, but if you have a small envelope you want to glue on, anyway, most of it's going to be gluing from there, but I'm going to trim and sew just a tiny bit, and then I'll be back and we'll sew it in together. Okay, I am back. I sewed, I'm going to keep it 2 signatures. So I sewed 3 tabs at the top. I have this really beautiful dusty salmon wool, and so I sewed those for tabs. I sewed a row of lace and a row of sari silk gathered and another row of lace. And so I think that's it for sewing directly into the journal. I will probably sew around different tags and pockets and things, but those are glued in, so I'm just going to hold off on that. But these are the things that needed to be sewn before we put this in our book. Alright, so this is just a small book, and this is just kind of a simple way of doing it. So I marked half, the half line, so that I can keep my lines straight. And I decided, just kind of by measuring this, that I'm going to put my signatures about 1/4 of an inch apart. So I have a little piece of paper, and I folded it in half, so I have a center mark. And then I'm going to line this up and mark a 1/2 inch from the top, 1/2 inch from the bottom, and then directly in the center. So let me do the center here. It's 3.5 inches long, so that would be 1.5. So there's my center mark, and then a 1/2 inch bottom, 1/2 inch top, and this will that doesn't look right, does it? Oh, it's 3.5 inches, that's why. 3.5 inches, not 3. So 3.5 inches, so we've got 1 3/4, which is right there. There we go, looks much better. So those are my holes. That's where I'm going to punch my holes. And then I'm going to line up my signatures. So this is the center, but I've got 2 signatures, and so I'll be sewing one signature a little ways away from the center there, and the other signature a little ways from the center there. So if you had an odd number, you could sew a signature directly on this line. But since we have an even number, and I'm going to draw another line about 1/8 of an inch away, because if you add 1/8 of an inch on this side and 1/8 of an inch on that side, then you're going to get your 1/4 inch gap that we wanted. Okay, so this pencil, it's a quilter's marking pencil, or a sewer's marking pencil, and if it doesn't scratch off, it's like a chalky sort of pencil, and if it doesn't scratch off, if you can still see it, it also is water soluble, so you can take a baby wipe and just like dab it on and it'll disappear. So those are super nice to use. Okay, so I'm drawing another line so I can keep my signatures nice and straight. And I'm going to do another one over here. Keep my signatures nice and straight, and keeping them 1/4 inch apart so that they're not too tight here, and then it causes like an alligator closure. We don't want that. We want lots of room, because we're still going to decorate it up a little bit too. Normally I decorate my pages and get my signatures all done and then make the cover. But since this is a quick and easy project, and there's not going to be tons and tons of decorating, I just went ahead and did the cover first. I wanted to show you guys how to do that cover. So now comes the fun part. I chose like a dusty pink. That's sort of in keeping with that butterfly that's on the front cover. Okay, so we're going to do one signature at a time, obviously. And this is the first signature, because the tabs go like this from left to right. So that's the first signature. And I did double check on the papers to make sure they were right side up. So we're good on that. So just take double your length. If you want a long tail, add some more length to it. I don't think I'll need a long tail. Plus, I'm running out of beads that have bigger holes. Isn't that something? Okay, so what we're going to do next. What are we doing next? Put that away. Just push your signature. Make sure all those center folds are nice and tight, nice and even. I'm going to line this up. Just eyeball it top to bottom to make sure it's the same distance, it's equidistant. Okay, I'm just lining that up, and then I'm going to flatten it out like this and use these clips to keep it in place. Just keep holding it nice and tightly. Straightening it out just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to make sure my line looks good. It still does. Okay. Get those clips on. I thought I had more clips out. Oh well, I think this should be good. Okay, I have my needle threaded. Alright, so we are going to lay this right into the fold. Make sure it's equidistant top to bottom. The fact is, this clip is a little too close, so let me move this clip a little bit. Okay, equidistant, and we're going to start with our awl and poke our holes. So right at our marks that we made, straight down. I'm going to poke all the way down through the cover. Poke this all the way down through the cover. And this one. I'm gonna move this up a little bit because it seems like this one is, I don't know, it seems like I got off a little bit. So I'm gonna, just by eyeballing, I'm gonna actually move that up a little bit. And we'll see how it goes. It looks wonderful. So we're going to take our threaded needle, bring it down through the center. You guys know how to do this, I'm sure you do. And then through the bottom or top, doesn't matter. That is the top. Bring it over to the bottom or top, depending on how you did it. And then back through this very same hole in the center. And I'm going to pull that to one side. Whoops, wrong side. I'm going to pull that to one side so that I don't get them intertwined with each other. We want to poke that right next to it. Okay. Bring one end over on one side of the long string and the other one is on the other side. Make sure you're nice and tight. And then tie a knot. Go over and under one direction and then switch it or flip it and do it the opposite direction so that you get a nice tight square knot. And then clip the ends and there you have one signature sewn in. Do the other signature the same way. So that would be our line over here. Make sure our papers are good and the tabs are up. Okay, we're going to line up our... Now this time, instead of lining it up to the cover, we're going to line it up to the other signature, because even if I got off a little bit, at least the signatures will all be uniform. Okay, so I'm lining that up to the line that we drew. Actually, I'm going to push this in a little bit tighter first. Line it up to the other signature, line it up to the line that we drew, open it up, clip it, make sure the tabs are at the top, paper's facing the right way, and that one is too, so we're good. Oh, I put my thread away already. 2 signatures here. 2 plus a little bit more. And then exactly the same way. Now, let's see, if you remember, I think it was the bottom. I think I was having trouble with the bottom hole, so that should line up. Let me check this. Yeah. So this place where I changed the hole position, that's at the bottom, and I want to make sure that's the same. So I'm lining up my fold line to the signature center, or the folded line of the paper. Okay, and then I'm going to punch my holes straight down through the cover, straight down, and straight down. This is probably not how you would do a giant book, but this is good for a small book. Alright, so then we're going to take our string down through the center, up through the top or bottom, doesn't matter. Excuse me. There we go. All the way down to the opposite end. Okay, and then we are going to bring it down up through that center hole, bringing it right next to the other string. I helped somebody move today, so I'm kind of tired. Well, if I could be honest, I'll tell you I'm exhausted. I'm having a little trouble getting this pulled up, so I'm just going to use my jewelry pliers, which I keep handy because I use them quite often. Either I'm making charms or pulling needles like that. Okay, and this one, when I came up on the opposite side of the string, so that's perfect. Now I'm going to make sure it's tight, pull it. All right, and it's ready for knot. So I think I'm gonna, I don't know yet, but I'm gonna first decorate these pages and the covers, inside covers. But okay, so let me show you what we've got. I'm gonna fold these a little bit, get them nice and creased. That one's already, that's the center. That one doesn't count. Boom. All right. There's our book. That spine is a little stiff, so I'm going to just roll that a little bit. Help it round up a little bit. Nice. I'm so excited. It's so cute. Boom. Okay, so then I need to decide about a closure. I think an eyelet would be really cute with some sari silk. I have off-white sari silk, so I might go ahead and do that closure with you as well. And then I will decorate this, and then, I'm trying to think. So I might come back and show you the rest of it. Do a little flip through, maybe. But this is how you make a little book out of scraps, so it's perfect. I did tell you I was going to do the eyelets. So that's me finding my eyelet stuff. I'm not finding it, just getting it out. Gotta set my needles, put them away so that I don't lose any of that. Okay. All right. So once again, what I usually do is measure. Not everybody measures, guys. You can do whatever, but so this is 3 and about 3/8, so 1.5, and about right there should do it. 3 and 3/8, 1.5. All right. Once again, I mark it with this pencil. Okay. And about right there. Okay. And then what I usually do is make sure they're in sync. Yep. Okay. All right. So let's punch away. I've got the bigger eyelets, so they are 3/16. So I'm going to get this punches the holes first, so I'm going to punch my hole. Trying to avoid the top stitching is what I usually do. Try to avoid the top stitching if you can. When I top stitch, I keep that in mind, that there may be an eyelet in there. Alright, and then I'm going to set it to the eyelet like finisher, Eyelet Setter. And I'm going to pick a color. I think brown, because of our nice brown accent on there. Oh, the browns have hearts. I don't necessarily want that. I forgot. This one has odd shapes in it. fortunately, before all the stores closed, I had just purchased some eyelets too, so knowing that most of these were different shapes, but I forgot the brown was, it's a heart shaped. I don't necessarily want that on there. They're cute, but not today. Alright, so when you punch through fabric, a couple different layers of fabric, just make sure you're trimming away from the hole, because it won't punch all the way through. If it's paper, it's going to punch through, but fabric, sometimes the little threads get stuck. So just gently cut those away. Put our eyelet in, and my eyelet, this thing has been giving me a little bit of problems lately. I haven't had it that long, so that would be really disappointing if it's all of a sudden not going to work for me. Okay, so there you've got a nice eyelet. We're going to do the same in the front cover. Make sure there aren't any threads there. And set the eyelet. Alright, and that's it for the closure. We're going to add our sari silk trim. My camera shut off, but so I've got about 26 inches of sari silk. It's only an inch or inch and a quarter wide, and I threaded this one through the eyelet already, and I thought I'd show you how I thread this one. I just pinch it in the center. I've got center of my long string. Pinch it in the center, bring it through the eyelet, and then take this loop, stick those ends through the loop, and then you've got a nice tie that's very secure. And I will decorate this up a little bit, and then we'll have a quick flip through to finish out the video. And thank you for joining me for making a little journal out of junk. And hopefully we'll get around to some of those other projects too. Very excited to get some little stuff done. And we will talk to you soon. I'll be back in a minute. Alright, I am back as promised. We are going to have, I finished the journal. We're going to have a little flip through so you can see exactly what I did inside. On the outside, you guys saw the cover, how that was made. I put in the eyelet and silk closure. So I decided to add a bulb pin up here and attached a tassel on that. So the tassel has ribbon and silk and baker's twine. I put a giant eyelet up there at the top of the tassel and then attached it with the bulb pin. And I had to take my awl and punch a hole, but I punched a hole to put the bulb pin in there. You could also put an eyelet in there too. And I kept it more towards the front, not directly on the spine, but just towards the front, so it would sort of hang down in the front like that. The other thing I decided to do is put on a book plate, so I did put that in on the bottom with a removable insert so that whoever gets this journal will be able to remove that. But it's a stamp I have, and I just stamped it on a time card, a little scrap of the time card. So let us open this up. It wound up to be, let's check, it wound up to be 4 1/8 by 3 3/8, 3 3/8, and the spine is about 7/8 of an inch. So that is the size of it, and I didn't overly decorate it. It certainly could, there is room for expansion because the cover, the nature of the cover, so but I chose not to go too much decoration, just a bit. Alright, so I did make a pocket out of a time card. I collaged it up. There's a little label there there is a little tag right here. The main reason why is because when I attached this, I didn't do that before any of the other, well, before the pocket or before the lining came into the journal. I didn't do it before, I did it afterwards. It was sort of an afterthought. So I just had to make do. So I've got a little piece of paper covering up the brad in here, and then I wound up putting a little tab on here to cover up the brad there. So I just sort of made do on that. I have a watercolor tag in here that I made. Here is a little Tim Holtz butterfly with cheesecloth behind it. You guys know that I had mentioned this already, but there were a couple of digital papers that I used. So all these pages are tea stained, or I think there are a few avocado stained in here. This is the wool tab that we talked about earlier. This has a tiny envelope I made with my mini envelope punch board, and I just put a little craft paper inside of it, and that just clips right onto the edge of the paper. And here's the lace that we talked about, sew that right onto the page. Some turmeric stained paper. Here's a cluster with silk ribbon paper, yarn, the center of the signature. Here is a little flip tag, and underneath it I have a little measuring tape pocket that I made, and then this has an unused stamp, 5-cent stamp. It's a little teapot. I thought that was super cute, and that just fits right in there. This is sort of open-ended right here so that this can slip in a little bit easier. And it stays okay, but it does flip up a little bit. Because I used cardstock, I think it would stay flatter if I just would have used paper, but I was trying to make it more sturdy, so the cardstock does make it flip up just a tiny bit. Alright, so a couple blank sheets in between. Here is another Tim Holtz image, and I just glued that right onto the page. Some more decorative paper with another wool tab at the top. So here is the second signature. I put a wraparound belly band that my sister had, she had made a video about that in one of her Craft With Me's, I think it was. So I will leave the video for that down below. Super great idea. Thank you, Cyndi, for the idea. I love it. So my belly band is made out of an index card that I folded, and so it's glued on this side and then it's glued on this side, and it just wraps right around. Before I glued it down, though, I collaged it up with some sewing and little botanicals on there. But the tags are plain on one side, and then I have a decorative paper on the other side, and the other tag is from the same paper set, and I just have that glued right onto the tags. Love that idea. Love that idea. I think that was awesome. Here is, it was a tag that already had a hole in it, so I punched another hole and put brads right here to make this tag into a belly band, and then I put this tag as a tag that slips in and out. So I have a real tiny butterfly stamp, and so I just stamped up the plain paper with that, with baker's twine for the tie at the top. And this yellow is turmeric stained. Here's some sari silk that I gathered and put on the, sewed right on the page. A couple of blank papers. Here is another small envelope. I put a decorative piece of paper inside it. There's a little fuzzy on there. I have a very small wax seal. So see if you can see the pattern. It's like a little bouquet of flowers on there. So I just glued that onto the flap. And it's a tinier size than usual, which I had not seen that size before. So I thought it was kind of fun to have one that was just a tiny bit smaller, and it fits on those little envelopes so well. Here's the lace that we talked about earlier. Another cluster with silk and ribbon, or not ribbon, but lace, and then a fussy cut butterfly. I put a garment pin on here and hung a butterfly charm from that little cluster. This says butterflies and moths on it from a little stamp that I had. And it had the tiniest little words, and so I just cut those from that stamp. from the stamped image. Here is a side pocket. This is also made out of a time card. So I should mention my sister had, Cyndi, had some ideas on how to use time cards. I believe we have some in our shop. If we don't, we'll be sure to get some in there soon. But she had a video on how to use these time cards, decorative elements in your journals. A really good video. So I will link that down below as well. I used one whole time card and just kind of little bits and pieces in this journal. So here's another little bit of a time card as a background, and then I just put a botanical and then a fussy cut moth image there. And inside that tuck spot I have a folded up index card, offcut, so that just slips right in there, and some butterfly washi tape that I love. I just love this, just very subtle colors. That is the end of the journal. So I have a pocket here. I put, from that small stamp set that I had that I told you about, I had the word butterfly, and I just cut that and put that right inside of that label. Here's my tiny butterfly stamp and another watercolor tag in there. And that's it for this little journal. This journal is for sale in our Etsy shop, so I'll leave a listing for that down below. Thank you for joining me, and thank you so much for putting up with all my what do I do next type things, putting together this little journal out of offcuts and scraps. So I'll have a couple more videos in this series of how to use up some of our supplies, things we maybe were going to just throw away. Couldn't find lots to do, just at and around our desks. So thank you so much again. Please stay tuned for more content. Like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't. We would love to have you along board. I'll leave the links where to find us below. Thank you so much, and take care, everybody. Goodbye.